I don't think I have quite done it yet, but I feel like...
She's so humble. Her dark humor. What's the explanation here, Lily? A confusing nightmare. What happened in Jesus?
Several times.
Want to tell me which ones?
No.
I want to know.
I'm sleeping, which is good.
Love that she's sleeping.
Relationship has only ever been about sex.
I'm gonna see what the comments say on this one.
Or anything.
Hi, I'm Vicky. I'm a therapist who loves talking about pop music. Today's video is basically episode 5 of my Lily Allen discovery journey. If you are new to this journey, basically, I listened to West End Girl, loved it so much, and you guys recommended that I check out her earlier albums. And basically what I'm doing is I'm going through one album at a time, listening to the album, reacting, and then doing a discussion video after I've processed each album a little bit more. And today, as part of that journey, while I am still digesting West End Girl and No Shame, I am going to be watching and reacting to 2 things. Number 1, Lily Allen's interview on CBS Mornings, where she talks about West End Girl and she shares some reflections about where she is in her life right now. And number 2, Lily Allen's 2 performances on Saturday Night Live, where she performs the songs Sleepwalking and Madeline. And coming soon is my reaction to Sheezus, which is the next Lily Allen album that I'm really excited to discover. So feel free to share all your comments and reflections on this interview and these performances with me. I'm really enjoying discovering Lily Allen, so I thank you for being here. And let's get into the CBS interview first.
I love this.
Thank you.
It's really gorgeous.
I did not paint it myself.
You didn't.
Talk about suffering for your art.
Yeah.
You know what? Her humor is amazing. Everyone who has listened to West End Girl knows that there is real, genuine, really painful suffering in that album. So she's kind of joking, but like she's also very serious.
In looking at some of the video of you making this album, you look actually quite happy while you're making it.
Yeah. I don't know how true that is. It was really frantic, but joyful at the same time.
Yeah.
Because I felt like genuinely supported by the people that I was in the room with. There's something about the medium of music, and I felt like it sounded good.
Yeah.
She's really touching on the paradox. This is very real. The paradox of expressing something deeply, deeply painful, bringing you joy. Like that seems counterintuitive, right? If you're sitting in a studio, immersing yourself in these songs that are about pain, shock, grief, you would think that you would be feeling those feelings. And of course you are, but there is something so relieving in just feeling like you have the right space, the right people, and the right format to just let it out. There's a lot of release and relief that comes with that. She even describes it as joy. And maybe it's not pure joy, like it's not only a joyous process to make these songs, but I love how she's acknowledging that that is actually part of it. Like feeling good does come with expressing yourself. It's cathartic, right? A lot of us felt that too listening to it. Like, wow, this is such a cathartic album.
And I basically haven't really listened to anything else since.
Yeah.
Except for Jade.
I love she says she hasn't listened to anything else except her own work, except for Jade, which a lot of you guys have recommended to me. You said that I would like Jade's album and I haven't heard it yet, so might need to listen to that at some point. But I love this as a measurement for sort of what you want to put out there. She's saying, I wrote music, but I wasn't drawn back into it. She has a standard for what she's going to share with the world. And when she created something that met that standard, that inspired her to want to engage with it, to want to listen to it over and over again, she said, okay, this is worthy of being shared. And boy, is it worthy. Love this album.
Writing down 18 track titles.
Yeah, that's right.
Before you even had lyrics?
Yeah.
I love this. I can't wait to hear what she's going to say about this. But just as a concept, the idea of writing down 12 track titles before even writing lyrics is so cool. It really says a lot about the intention for the album, the intention of the structure, and sort of the important points you want to include. It's kind of like if you're writing an essay or a book and you kind of do the brainstorm session where you write down all your bullet points of things you don't want to miss. It's like, I'll figure out the how and the details later, but these are the things I definitely really want to include. So the fact she started with the track names is really fascinating to me. And I actually read about this. I knew about this before the interview. So I went back and read the tracks again after learning that information, and it made me appreciate them so much more because I was like, like these are really essential to the story of this album. Like ruminating is core. Pussy Palace, iconic. Beg for Me, just incredible.
There's an album called A Grand Don't Come for Free by an artist called Mike Skinner who goes by the name of The Streets. I'm being super descriptive, but laying out this story from start to finish that you could visualize it. It was like a film. I sort of put it up on a pedestal and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
what an amazing feat to be able to do that. I didn't ever think, and I don't think I have quite done it yet, but I feel like...
She's so humble. It's really cool that she drew this inspiration to make a cohesive concept album that is a full narrative, full story from start to finish. She's saying she doesn't feel that she achieved that. Maybe she has really high standards for herself. I don't know if there's maybe some perfectionism there or being hard on herself, but personally, I know that when I listened to it, I received it as a full, complete narrative from start to finish. I think she did a pretty good job of that.
I knew those emotional beats that I wanted to hit in terms of the narrative.
It's a cool way to describe it. The emotional beats that she wanted to hit in the album. Those were the track titles.
Did you have any reluctance about writing about this?
No, I didn't, because at the time I wasn't even really...
Did you have any reluctance about writing about this? No, I didn't. I have no shame. I love it.
thinking about it as like a commercial endeavor. It was just...
Yeah.
It was an act of desperation, actually.
Sometimes the best art is the art that's created just because it needs to be created and from a place of authenticity and raw emotion, not from a place of strategy or commercial intention. And I think it's the paradox of art, because sometimes the art that's created just because it needs to exist, just because the artist needed to do it, is the art that performs better than the art that's like trying to perform better, if that makes sense.
Do you share it when you're still in the middle of feeling it? Or do you wait till you've processed it more?
Holding on to this record and sitting on it for as long as we worked, it's been a nightmare, honestly, having it.
Sitting around?
Sitting around, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's sort of stunted my healing process somewhat. And actually, since I've put it out, it's felt completely and utterly liberating.
Yeah.
So she describes the process of releasing the record as liberating. And it's like she's saying that that last step of the creative process, which is the sharing it with the world step, felt really necessary to her. And this idea of liberation is really interesting, because when you've written something and you're holding on to it, you're choosing to keep it to yourself, you do have more control over it. But the moment that you release it to the world, you no longer have control over who is going to comment on it, how it will be received, the emotions that other people might start to feel about it. And on the one hand, I could see how that might be really scary for an artist. But at the same time, you're kind of letting go not just of the material, but letting go of control over the material. And one of the hardest things to accept about life is how much we don't have control over. So to release something personal, when you are ready to release it, is actually a really profound exercise in acceptance, and acceptance that you don't have control. Like, you are actively having the experiential learning of, okay, here's this thing I literally have no more control over. And you kind of teach yourself to accept it. And the question of, when do you do this? Do you do this while you're still going through it, or do you do it later? I would tend to say, and this is a generalization, everyone's different, every difficult thing that someone goes through is different, but I would say generally, while you're going through it, I would encourage that kind of release and expression to happen in a safe environment. And maybe that looks different for different people. Maybe that's just you one-on-one with a trusted human. Maybe for some people that is expressing it through music. But I would sort of encourage, when it's really raw and you still need the time to process, maybe do the first stages of that in a safe and comfortable space, so you don't sort of force yourself into something that you are not ready for. But it is a really interesting question for every individual and every artist to reflect on for themselves. Like, at what point am I genuinely comfortable and ready to share more of this and to share with more people? I like that she reflects on this. It shows how intentional she is as an artist.
How did it feel when it was done? Because you'd made all this music, you said, that you weren't happy with.
Yeah.
I kind of want to hear the music she made between No Shame and West End Girl.
Did you hear something different in this?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
I was excited, but also, you know, my life was falling apart, so I had to go and deal with some very practical stuff. I got Christmas out of the way. I realised that I needed to go and do some work on myself, and I checked myself into a place to go and get the help that I needed.
This does seem like good intentional self-care here, where she did take care of her own mental health, her own practical, logistical stuff, get that sorted in her personal life first, and then think about releasing the album. That sounds like a reasonable sort of process. So she didn't feel like she was just rushing into the emotional and logistical implications of releasing an album like this too soon.
I knew that the things that I were feeling were too intense, and I had the money to, you know, be able to take the decision to check myself into somewhere that I thought might be beneficial. Because I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating, I was really not in a good way.
Just recognizing the no sleeping. So many songs referencing how she struggles to sleep, lost my mind, ruminating. You know, I think this is really good for people to see. It's really good modeling of checking in with herself, being really honest with herself and saying, okay, I need the support and I don't have real logistical barriers. So I'm not going to make any excuses. I am going to get the help that I need. And I think, coming from someone whose voice we heard in West End Girl, and we heard how vulnerable and strong she is, and we can sort of see how those two things go together. Like, it takes a lot of strength to admit when you need help, to own your vulnerability. And that's exactly what she's doing.
You said in one interview you did for this that heartbreak is a gift.
I mean, for an artist, I think it is. Yeah, for sure. The way that I write is it needs to be collaborative for a start. I don't play any musical instruments well enough to for them to make it onto a record. So I'm, really relying on the people that I'm working with.
Wait, this makes the 10 days thing even crazier, because if she had the ideas for the songs but could not fully make them a reality on her own, then she had to contain all of the creation process into the 10 plus 6, apparently, days where she was collaborating with other people. That's next level ability to create, because I know a lot of artists describe the process as needing to harness the energy when it comes. Like the second inspiration strikes, you run to your musical instrument and you just write as much as you can, sort of get it out. But the fact she had to like save that energy, all the pain, the emotion, the lyrics, the ideas for the days that she was with her collaborators. Oh, wow, that's like, it's like an added skill on top of the creativity.
You know, you sit in these sessions and it's, you know, what are we going to write about today? And when there's something that is completely and utterly like defines you at that moment, it makes it the whole thing pretty easy.
A cool way to describe heartbreak as a gift and as something that defines you in that moment. So you have no choice but to draw creative inspiration from it.
You said that basically all your records have been born out of some kind of trauma.
Her dark humor, just laughing. Yeah, all my records are born out of dark trauma.
Usually heartbreak, I guess. Also, all my visits to institutions have coincided with the heart.
The self-deprecating humor, classic.
And then the third album
Jesus.
was a mess, and a confusing nightmare.
A confusing nightmare. What happened in Jesus? I can't wait to listen.
It's confused. It's hormonal. It's really looking for an identity and not finding it.
That's so interesting because her identity, her personality comes through so clearly on West End Girl and on No Shame. So I want to hear Sheezus and see what she means by the album not having identity. That's an interesting way to describe it.
My first album, it felt like a moment in time that you couldn't recreate. And I certainly haven't felt anything like what that felt like until now. It's highly entertaining. It's very overstimulating. Well, because I just lie in my hotel room, like watching TikToks of people reacting to my music. It's like great.
Oh my God, she's watching us react to her music, guys. The way she's describing it, it's kind of like her fame is being reborn. She's comparing the reception of West End Girl to the reception of her first album and the kind of blow up feeling. So this makes me curious to hear her first album too.
When something connects with people, it's affirming, right? It's validating. So now have people listen to this record and to go, yeah, that's really messed up, that's really painful. It's like, okay, now I know why I had to drag myself into a treatment center.
This is so natural to want to check in with other people and get some sort of confirmation, some validation that, okay, I'm not going crazy. My feelings are valid. The situation that I am in or I was put through would be difficult for most, if not all humans. And it's really natural to want to sort of look outward for some sort of validation in that pain. Of course, it can be tricky when you share it so publicly because you'll probably get all sorts of opinions. Some people will say that, yeah, it is valid. Some people will say, no, it's not valid. So it kind of raises the question of whose validation, sort of, who are you going to trust? Where is the honest, authentic opinion going to come from? Ideally from a trusted source. But at the same time, you know, if many people all around the world are saying the same thing, usually that means something. Maybe we need to use some critical thinking to see like what it may be. But I think in this case, the fact that so many people are resonating with these feelings and are saying, yeah, that's really difficult. I can see why that's healing for her.
Everything has been really instinctive, from the choosing to go to LA to write with the people that I wanted to write with,
Right.
from seeing Neve's artwork and being like, yes, that feels like the right direction to go down.
Yeah.
To the people that I'm working with in the creative direction sense, to, you know, we're now talking about music videos and, you know, sort of longer form stuff, and it's all been really, yeah, it's just felt really good and instinctive.
So her focus was not on the external. Maybe this is a lesson for all of us. Her focus was not on how might this be received, sort of thinking about the external opinions, but it was very internally motivated. She was following her instincts every step of the way. And yeah, ultimately, that is what ended up resonating with the external voices. I mean, maybe because we all also have instincts, we can relate to something that is authentically created. So it worked out in her favor.
There were definitely some times where I felt like it did sound a bit victim-y, and we went and changed some of the lyrics to make them sound less so.
So she intentionally did not want to sound like a victim. That's really interesting. Yeah, when I hear this album, I don't hear someone playing the victim. And there is a difference between being a real victim of horrible things versus playing the role of the victim, which would be almost a black and white mindset of saying the other person is the perpetrator. They are bad, I am good and innocent, even when that's not exactly true. And it's cool to know she was intentional about that. She didn't want to play this role of victim. Usually that's not a very healthy mentality to go in, because you usually disown and outsource any kind of agency or power, which is not good for you if you are playing the victim. And when I hear this album, I hear someone taking accountability even through a really painful situation where clearly other people involved were doing very questionable, very hurtful things. And that's one of the things I fell in love with the most about this album, that she's not playing the victim. She's owning her own imperfections while also acknowledging other people's imperfections.
You know, I don't really like to write lyrics unless I'm in the studio, because then it does start to feel a little bit contrived for me.
Okay.
Wow. So actually, her way of relying on instinct and producing art organically is saving it for the studio. Like, that containment process is actually intentional on her part. And that's how she gets the most intuitive, most authentic writing, she says, which is really interesting, because I've heard other artists say that if they don't capture it in the moment, then it's going to feel contrived. So really, really cool to hear about her process.
How do you know when you've written a good lyric?
I don't know if I believe in a good lyric.
I don't know if I believe in a good lyric, says the woman that wrote, "You made me your Madonna, but I want to be your whore," says the woman who wrote, "You won't love me, you won't leave me, you don't touch me, still so needy." She doesn't believe in a good lyric, guys. What's the explanation here, Lily?
I think I believe in good songs, and I think that you can have like
Okay,
a great line.
fair enough.
Yeah.
But it has to be supported by all of the other lines around
Sure.
it in order for the whole thing to make sense and be
Yeah.
cohesive. So
fair
I
enough,
think
fair
that
enough.
I think that when you listen to something and it makes sense and you can paint a picture,
Yeah.
to me anyway, you know, I think some people it's completely the opposite. They like to hear things that are more metaphorical and
Yeah.
that allow their brains to go into a place that lets them do the the creative bit.
One of my favorite things about her writing is that she doesn't write in metaphors, that it's just so direct and so simple. It just floors you in its simplicity.
I kind of hide in songs. They feel, for want of a better phrase, like a safe space for me. You can put them away and you can decide to release them into the world if you want to, or they can sit there in a file on your computer and die with it.
yeah, there's a real freedom to expressing something in art because then you do have the choice of what you're going to do with that. Maybe you choose that it will never see the light of day and you never have to deal with any sort of response to it. But I think also what she's saying, she says she hides in songs. I mean, I think this is her self deprecating way to reference something really important. Sometimes there is a safety in some level of distance from the emotions. And I mean, in some situations, just being able to name an emotion creates already a sort of distance, a reassurance that this is the feeling. And yes, maybe it's fury or deep fear, but it's over here and I'm over here because I can see it. I am more than that emotion. The emotion is not going to consume me. And when you do that through writing or music, you create that distance because it's I'm here and the song is here. And there is something really empowering in just recognizing that, like, we are more than what we are feeling in any given moment, no matter how powerful that feeling or a thought is. If you can access the part of you that is beyond that, that is outside of that, you will feel just a little bit more grounded, a little bit more empowered to decide what you do with that.
Did you impress yourself at all in with any of your lyrics?
Several times.
Want to tell me which ones?
No.
I want to
What
know.
ones are the ones that I like? I mean, they're just sort of like little jokes that I have to make. Like the guy that did who's a very dear friend of mine, is a designer called Billy Cotton, who designed
Billy Cotton got sorted.
my house in Brooklyn, and he gets a mention, but nobody would
Yeah.
know who he is. So it's
Nobody would know who he is except for the millions of people that have watched the Architectural Digest tour of this exact house where Billy Cotton is mentioned.
it's a strange thing to put in a song, but I appreciate it.
You kind of define yourself as a songwriter.
It's what I put on my insurance forms. Yeah,
Is it?
yeah.
Love that.
Songwriter, singer. I think a lot of people that go the other way around. Yeah, I think that's my strength is writing.
You said you don't think of yourself as a great singer.
No, not at all.
Or
I think she doesn't give herself enough credit for her singing as well. I think her voice is incredible at conveying emotion. Like, she doesn't sound the same on Beg for Me as she does on Pussy Palace. Like, there are different emotions that I can sense through her voice, but yeah, I get what she's saying though. Like, songwriting is her main thing, and yeah, honestly, it's the lyrics and just the direct honesty that is really a highlight in her art.
It's a real adrenaline rush that you get when you're on a stage.
yeah.
And people responding to your words. You know, when you come off stage, that adrenaline is rushing around your body and looking for a place to get out. And, you know, drugs and alcohol are really helpful with that. And when you take that out of the equation, I haven't done it yet, but I can imagine that it's will be quite hard.
She's told us through her music that alcohol can serve her when it comes to emotional regulation. In relapse, we know she wants to be numb, so she has used alcohol, drugs to get there. And then in everything to feel something, when she has felt numb, she has used those things to get her to feel something. But I do think it's really good that she's aware that this is going to be a missing component when she goes on tour. And so the fact she's aware means now she can think about what other tools, what else can she use in place of, because she's sober, she doesn't want to use drugs and alcohol. So what can she use in place to regulate her emotions, especially with the come down, like after being on stage? Because that is real. I mean, most of us will never know how that feels to be in front of thousands and thousands of people, and then suddenly you're alone in a dressing room. Like, that is a huge come down.
Was going through a breakup sober difficult as well?
Yeah, very.
Yeah.
I need a drink. I need a Valium.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
That's just,
I think it will be quite joyous to see people responding to it.
mm-hmm.
If I can deliver, you know.
You can deliver.
I hope so.
Yeah, you can deliver.
I think I doubt my like singing abilities. I doubt that you know, just me on a stage can captivate an audience for that amount of time.
Look, anyone who sees her live, please let me know how it is. I feel like she's being very hard on herself and her performing ability and her singing ability. But something tells me this album is going to be really moving, really extraordinary live. So definitely let me know if you're going, if you see it. I want to know. I want to know what it's like.
Not before.
Yeah, but it's going to be great. I have no doubt.
No, I'm sorry. I get it. I can't recall an album in quite a while where the lyrics have gotten passed around as extensively as yours have.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been surprised by what's traveled?
Yeah, actually I have. I thought that some lines would have, if they were going to travel, it would have been different lines, but it has been surprising.
Yeah.
I hope he's going to ask her what lines she thought were going to travel around the internet. Let's see if he asks her.
I wanted to ask you about the last song because there's a line in.
He didn't ask her. He's going to ask about another line. Okay.
I'm just a little girl looking for a daddy. Thought that we could break the cycle. Thought I could make you happy. This whole cycle of trying to solve this.
Childhood trauma.
Yes. That it must have been particularly tough to find yourself in this place again.
Yeah, it has, and I think it's frustrating that I've haven't figured it out yet.
You know, healing is not linear and takes a lot of time and can be a very, very frustrating process. And, you know, when we're dealing with the inner child, like the little boy looking for his mummy, as she says in the song, and the little girl looking for her daddy, we're dealing with very early years. When it's so early years and potentially even pre-verbal, I mean, we know from the song 3, she gives words to a child of an age that probably would not have the words to describe what's happening. So when it's pre-verbal trauma, that takes even longer. That's even harder to heal because you're working with a whole other level, like a whole deeper level of emotions and unconscious drives to act in certain ways, perhaps be attracted to certain people. So it's hard, you know. I mean, I can tell through her lyrics that she has taken the time to reflect, that she has a lot of self-awareness. And yeah, I mean, the painful truth is sometimes, even after a lot of reflection, even through a lot of self-awareness, it can feel like healing has not fully happened just because it is such a hard and complex and long and painful process.
I've started doing EMDR therapy recently, which is a different type of therapy than the therapy that I'm used to. A lot of that childhood trauma stuff is what we've been going over, and I actually do feel a bit better.
Yeah.
I do feel like I have some kind of a better grasp on it.
I think you said
That's
in the
really
book that
good. I'm really glad to hear that she has found therapy helpful. You know, there are no guarantees when it comes to therapy. And it's nice to have someone talking about it openly in the media and saying, yeah, it's a long and it's a painful process, and I can see certain benefits.
But I think the what I'm learning as I get older is that I actually just seeing myself and giving myself some space and some empathy is
some love
is the key.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done a lot of work, and I'm sleeping, which is good.
Love that she's sleeping. love that. Really great to hear that she's sleeping. And really great to hear that she acknowledges that performing and looking for and something external to fill something internal has not worked. And now she's working on the internal stuff that's going to fill the internal hole. Really great to see her talking about this and hopefully spreading the message that we all do this sometimes. We look externally to complete something really that's missing internally. And we need to go through that process of identifying what are we doing, why are we doing it, what is needed internally, and then go through the process of working on our internal world. And she's doing that, which is really great.
I think if I was going to do or dedicate an album to anyone, it would be to my girls. You know, one thing that I wanted to do was to show my kids that, you know, you can use that pain and harness it and turn it into something else.
I love this idea that the album is written not just for her, but for her kids as a demonstration of a really healthy and I will almost always, I mean, I can't really think right now of a situation where I wouldn't say this, but art, I think art is always a healthy way. I mean, maybe there are exceptions to that, but art is a healthy way generally to express pain, to work through it, to understand yourself better, to reconnect with your strength, and to move forward. So I think this album is sort of modeling that for her kids, as hard as it may be for her kids to maybe learn about some of the details in this album. My sense is maybe especially when they're older, having this kind of communication from their mother will be a really, really powerful and special thing to hold on to.
We were talking about theater before.
It's really nice to be in a room where it's like the measure of whether it's gone well or not is clapping of hands. It's so old school. It really is a true honor to be asked to be a part of those things and to be brought into that world.
Yeah, and with no audition as well. I mean, clearly we know from her voice messages in West End Girl that she's got the acting talent, and it's cool to hear that she's also really appreciative of the theater world as well, not just music.
I have an ongoing relationship with Olivia Rodrigo, and she has asked me to play a couple of times with her. You know, she must have been like 3 when that song came out.
Okay, once I've listened to whatever album FU is on, I'm gonna go watch this Olivia Rodrigo performance. I love Olivia Rodrigo.
But yeah, it's nice to know that, you know, a lot of these young women, in fact, they're all young women. I don't think there's any men that have said I'm heavily influenced by Lily Allen yet. But
it doesn't matter, they're all very successful young women.
There was a part of me that maybe, you know, felt like, you know, these girls are, you know, having their moments, and it was a bittersweet thing because I'd go up there and I'd be like, oh my God, this is really fun. And I was just irritated that I couldn't come up with something that felt worthy enough to deliver and to perform.
This is really interesting because especially 2024, well, I think Olivia Rodrigo's album came out maybe the year before that, but the summer of 2024 was a whole bunch of pop girlies releasing really fresh music, really revolutionary in a lot of ways. And it's interesting because Lily's generation is like the previous generation of artists. And a lot of artists of that generation, I'm sure, were watching the younger stars create really amazing art in 2024. And honestly, really raising the bar for music. And it's cool to hear her acknowledging that. But I think she is one of the few artists of her generation that came back very successfully, came back even stronger. Like, it's not easy to do, to compete with with the youth in this way when there are so many insane. I mean, Charlie XCX's album was so good. Chapel Roan, technically 2023 as well, I think. But just these new artists are really killing it. So it takes a lot for someone who's been in the game a while, who has different perspectives on things, to come back with an album like this.
But it was an invasion of my personal actual space.
Yeah.
The actual physical proximity of like men, middle-aged, much older men with cameras trying to capture you in an unflattering light so that it could be followed with unflattering words was a really difficult thing to contend with in my early 20s. That was the thing that I found the hardest. I sort of had a system with my assistant who has a PIN number for my phone so I can't open Safari or Instagram or TikTok unless she puts the PIN number in.
She raises a good point for all of us. Like, it's good to have some sort of boundary in place with social media use, because too much time spent on social media can be, especially if you have put out something so personal and social media is filled with all these comments and opinions about it, some sort of healthy boundary is in place. It sounds like she's put a really rigid one in place, where she or had at some point put a really rigid one in place where she cannot even access her phone without someone else typing in the PIN code. Like, that's a very physical, very rigid boundary to have. And I mean, if what you're going for is just absolute protection from it, just eliminating any possibility that you might see something that's going to throw you off or be painful, yeah, I mean, that's the ultimate protection, right?
Anything else you want to tell the world?
I'm getting married again. I'm joking.
She's hilarious. Love her laugh.
I found the one. No, I'm joking. I don't have anything to say.
Oh my God.
How are you feeling now,
Right this second, today, I'm feeling great. Grateful, but also super aware that nothing is permanent and lasts forever. And so I'm just fully committed to enjoying as much of this as I possibly can.
Yeah.
I love how she's acknowledging all the emotions, and all of that can be present at once. Those things are not mutually exclusive.
It must feel slightly strange that something so wonderful comes out of something so awful.
Yeah, but also, like, it's not so awful, It,
No,
it felt pretty awful at the time, but
Yeah.
it's not. I think the reason it's connecting is because it's not unusual.
I mean, something can be not unusual and still be awful, but I think my sense is maybe what she's talking about is that sort of distance. Like, once you sort of survive a situation and have the power to look at it, reflect on it, move forward from it, I guess you get that perspective that it's not the end of the world. Like, yeah, it was horrible. Yeah, it left some scars or a lot of scars, but I was able to survive it. I was, in a sense, stronger than what happened to me.
Brutal when you're in it, but I think that when I touched on joy earlier, and when you are going through that kind of pain, people always say, it will pass. I promise you, you'll come out the other side.
Right.
And you really do not believe it. Like, I did not believe it. I was like, no, this is like here and here to stay. I'm never going to be able to get out of bed again. But I'm here a year later, and I'm like living my best life, and I'm like booking tours that I would never have dreamed of being able to book 5 years ago. And my kids are gonna see me do it all, and it's like amazing. So yeah, it's gonna be okay.
Love her reflections here, her conclusions here. She is really strong. She is showing us through this album and through her survival of it that, yeah, even the hardest things can be survived. I think that's really beautiful. I think it's really empowering. I love how honest and authentic she is. She just has this really authentic vibe to her. And I'm so excited to listen to the rest of her albums. Okay. Gonna watch Lily Allen performing Sleepwalking on SNL.
May
So theatrical.
Angry, cause I'm hurt. Why aren't we? That's what you said.
She didn't
but
say the
you
F
let
word.
me.
I like that she
Baby,
is
stop
actually
it. It's
walking.
free. Madonna.
God. Oh. God, I got chills during the Madonna line.
You won't leave me.
Oh my God. Yeah, I think the sadness of that song really hits live, especially because that set design is such good sleepwalking, like, set design. You can see the light coming through that feels like sort of moonlight or a street light late at night. And I like that she actually does walk around slowly in that performance. And during the Madonna, you made me your Madonna, I want to be your whore line, where she leans against the wall, there's like a really sort of sensual, intimate element to that. Gosh, it really makes me curious to see when she performs this. Will it feel like a play when she goes on tour with this album? Is she going to play the songs in order because they fit so perfectly in order? And is she going to have the story unravel step by step chronologically as it does in the album? Because I think there's a lot of opportunity there visually to play with that, to sort of see how she's processing all of the feelings along the way. Okay, I'm gonna watch Madeline.
Don't be blatant. Stranger Madeline.
Relationship has only ever been about don't
Just
speak outside of the
typing.
time. Utmost respect.
You tell me
That line always makes me angry.
I can't trust him.
Gunshots. The gunshots were lightning in the background.
Right now, I really don't want to be feelings about dishonesty anytime, by the way.
I actually love that Madeline is sleepwalking, because we already saw Lily sleepwalking and moving around her room, being on the bed, and now we're seeing Madeline kind of doing the same thing, or in a similar sort of state of mind. So this way of performing Madeline actually brings together the two women in a really interesting way, and shows the parallel that both women are being played in this situation, right? Both women are sleepwalking and maybe suffering for their own reasons in their own ways, but actually they're connected in the uncertainty. They're in many ways in the same boat here.
Or anything. Love and light. Madeline.
I love that. I love that. That's so they make their peace in a way, and at least in this version of Madeline. Wow. So I think that's the actress Dakota Johnson, right? What a cool way to bring together these two women, Lily and Madeline. Even though there are gunshots fired in this song, it really, it doesn't feel like the women are attacking each other, you know? Like maybe the gunshots are fired at the man in the situation, actually, if anything. Or maybe some might say the women should be shooting at each other or should be pit against each other. And actually, this performance is saying, no, like the women are not to blame here. We are together in this. We're just trying to get to the bottom of this. That's kind of the message that I get, which is a really cool one. I don't know. I love the peace and the little kiss and the hug at the end between them. That's so nice. I'm gonna see what the comments say on this one. Bringing Dakota out as Madeline, that's gag of the year. Yeah, her album deserves a play adaptation. Absolutely, absolutely, totally agree. Her eyes show her pain and vulnerability. Yeah, there's so many emotions on this whole album that would be so well suited to a theatrical or musical, just really emotional performance. I hope they have a different guest Madeline for each tour stop. That would be a good idea. The fact that both performances were calm and voice focused rather than a full lights dance step performance is so soothing to my brain. I totally agree with that. I think there was a little bit of the use of lighting, like when she switched to singing the You Made Me Your Madonna line, the lighting changed. And then there was sort of lightning in the background during the gunshots for Madeline. But that's so nice when there's subtle shifts in moments that really matter rather than this just overload of lights and action and movement, which I don't think is well suited to this album. I think trying to force it into like a overly showy pop performance just wouldn't fit with the storytelling in this album. Let's all please give her an F load of credit for doing this all so raw and sober. First time she'll go on tour while sober. Yeah, she was talking about this in the interview, right? That's gonna be hard, especially when there are so many people that love this album. This album means so much to them. The crowds are going to be very excited to see Lily perform this, which means that her experience of performing is going to be very stimulating. It's going to be a lot of people's emotions to take in and react to. So I'm sure that the come down she was talking about in the interview is going to be a thing that she has to reckon with and find a healthy way to deal with. But the good thing is we know she's aware of that. She's going to work on it. She'll do what she needs to do to find something that actually does help regulate her feelings, but in a way that doesn't come back to bite her. Love the set design. Me too. She stares into the camera while she's delivering the most scathing lyrics. Yeah. I mean, there is something so intimately scathing about these lyrics, which is it's perfect for a look into the camera, and when she's saying the you, to really just like make it feel like she's talking to you. Someone saying, I want Lily to be more confident. She needs more conviction. I mean, let's just take a second to try to put ourselves in her shoes. I think this must have been, I mean, first of all, a very difficult experience to go through. Second of all, a very difficult album to write and then to sit on, like to have written and not have shared with the world, and then to share it with the world and sort of be reminded of how intense and painful these emotions are through other people's experience of the album, because a lot of people are sort of responding and saying, yeah, this is really unfair, really painful, really hurtful. And then for the first time in many years, I guess, to perform, I don't know when the last time she actually performed was, but to get on a stage and of all the albums to perform the one that is the most fresh and just very emotionally heavy. I mean, it takes a lot of guts to even get on that stage, and it might, I would understand why it might take a few times of performing it to get into like a groove, to feel more comfortable, because I imagine this is a hard one. This is a hard album to be performing. Glad people finally acknowledge what I've said since I was in high school. Lily is one of the best, wittiest, and most underrated lyricists of our time. She deserves all the praise. Truly, okay, I want to go back and check the comments on Sleepwalking as well. I love the vulnerability she shows. You can tell she's nervous because this song is pure pain. Yeah, I think the nerves make sense, honestly. Hard album to do live. Yeah. But that's also what makes the album so brilliant, is what this person says. I think, yeah, that's the contradiction here. It's insanely vulnerable, so it's gonna be hard to do live, but that is what people connect with. And I mean, maybe actually, if there are some nerves in her performance, maybe people will also connect to that, because if we put ourselves in her shoes and we try to imagine, what would it be like for me to go through this experience, write this album, potentially still be processing parts of it, and then to perform it live? Yeah, that would be nerve-wracking. So she's relatable to us in that way, where we get it. We get why she might be nervous potentially in performing this. Brilliant album, brilliant woman. Yeah, there's people, I can tell there are people who have always really loved Lily Allen, and they're just so supportive of her. She has such a delicate voice. She does. I really like her voice. You know, she, in the interview, did not give herself very much credit. Maybe, I don't know how she's sort of judging her own voice, if she's maybe comparing it to other voices, but she really does have this unique sort of delicate, vulnerable, this ability to really, really show the emotions of the song. And it's really soothing to hear. I find her voice quite soothing. She's pushing through the nerves. Give her some credit. Yeah, give her all the credit. Yeah, people saying they really like the staging. It reminds them of a Broadway play. It just goes so well. Like, that kind of staging is perfect for this kind of album, where there is such a clear narrative. You can just hear the characters' voices throughout. And the song is beautiful yet so heartbreaking. Yeah, especially live, it hits. It really hits. She hasn't performed in 7 years. Okay, yeah. And hasn't performed sober, and has never performed this material before. Yeah, I think that sums up, like, any nerves we're sensing. That's why. A lot of people saying how beautiful she looks, and a lot of people excited to see her live. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a really interesting album to see live. So I'm looking forward to hearing from anyone who does get to see it live. Definitely let me know what you think. And I'm so excited to listen to the rest of her albums. So follow along. Be sure to come back at some point soon. I will be listening to Jesus. I'm so excited. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next video.